tonight a 3-judge panel in New York has effectively blocked almost all of Trump's disastrous tariffs. Trump's tariffs against Mexico and Canada, his tariffs against the EU, against China, his tariffs against uninhabited islands with nothing but penguins and snow. They are all blocked by this federal court decision. It comes out of the United States Court of International Trade, which is a specialized court you may or may not have ever heard of, but it deals specifically with trade issues. A 3-judge panel consisting of one Reagan appointee, one Obama appointee, and crucially and importantly, one Trump appointee, ruled unanimously that Trump's trade war is essentially illegal, that he does not have the authority to enact these sweeping tariffs on his own.
What's up, America? Donald Trump's tariffs shut down by a federal judge. Yes, that's right. All of Donald Trump's reciprocal tariffs have now been declared illegal by a federal trade judge.
Hello, Donald. Yes, of course, I've just seen that a US federal court has said that you're not actually allowed to bring in tariffs and that all of the tariffs you brought in over the last few months are now null and void. Yeah, no, I'm not laughing, I swear. No, I know it's serious. I know, it's outrageous, Donald. This is your entire economic policy gone up in smoke. And the court specifically said that your tariffs on Canada, Mexico and China cannot go ahead. I am so angry, Donald, I'm punching the air. So what happens to the tariffs that people have already paid? The government has to refund them with interest. Oh my God. Hey, Donald, I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh. I know this is the funniest thing that's ever happened. I'm sorry, I promise that there is nothing else you can say that I will laugh at, okay? Serious face now. Yeah, sure, if I laugh, I'll take responsibility for this whole mess. Wall Street analysts have come up with a new nickname for you called Taco because Trump always chickens out on tariffs. Oh, I swear, I'm not laughing. I swear. How did you respond?
But don't ever say what you said. That's a nasty question.
Hello guys, and welcome to the Joe Report. In today's video, we're going to talk about the Orange Man's humiliation after 3 federal judges cancelled his Liberation Day tariffs. For all the tough talk and economic chest thumping, it seems his latest move just got smacked down in the most humiliating way possible. In a ruling that has sent waves across the country and relief across the globe, a panel of 3 federal judges has officially struck down his controversial Liberation Day tariffs. The message couldn't be clearer. He overstepped, and the law has caught up with him. What was supposed to be a bold flex of power turned into a legal and political embarrassment, and Americans are reacting with joy. If this is the kind of content you enjoy, please consider subscribing, liking and sharing so that YouTube may recommend it to a wider audience. And so now, without further ado guys, let's go straight into this video. But first, let me play you a few videos on this matter and I'll come back with my commentary. As a side note, all credit goes to the creators of these videos.
Wow, so Donald Trump's been blocked by the US Trade Court in regards to his Liberation Day global tariffs. So remember those tariffs that he gave on every country? They're being blocked. So it says here that a US federal court has ruled that Donald Trump overstepped his authority by imposing global tariffs in a major blow to a key part of his economic policies. So, wow, he just got screwed over by his own court.
Donald Trump's tariffs are gone. They have been nullified in their entirety by a federal court. It was the Federal International Trade Court, a unanimous panel of 3 judges, one of whom was appointed by Donald Trump. In a unanimous decision issued Wednesday today, judges halted the president's tariffs with a permanent injunction. They're gone. They're dead. And the after-hours Dow Jones futures market went skyrocketed. This ruling nullifies Trump's 30% tariffs on Chinese goods, 25% tariffs on goods from Canada and Mexico, and the baseline 10% tariffs Donald Trump opposed on pretty much every single other country on April 2nd, Liberation Day. It took less than 2 months. In issuing the tariffs, Trump bypassed Congress by citing the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. Okay, so here's what he did. He did this with immigration. He declared that we were being invaded by the Venezuelan government, who was directing the Venezuelan street gang Tren de Aragua. He declared an emergency so that he could invoke the Alien Enemies Act. That's been shot down by multiple courts. And with his tariffs, he declared an economic emergency under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act and just started doing whatever he wanted to do. Declare an emergency because under a lot of these statutes, if there is an emergency, the president declares an emergency. If there's a factual basis for that emergency, then those statutes typically will give the president additional emergency powers to do things like mass deportations or global tariffs. Donald Trump has been fixated on tariffs for 40 years. He has constantly been like, the rest of the world is ripping us off. They're ripping off the United States, yada, yada, yada. This court held that he dramatically exceeded the president's authority under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. And they issued a permanent injunction, a permanent restraining order against Donald Trump issuing tariffs on, or instituting tariffs on other countries. His tariffs are dead. They are gone. They no longer exist. And this restraining order is permanent. Now, he can appeal this to the Federal District Appellate Court, and then after that, he can appeal it to the United States Supreme Court. And I'm sure that Sam Alito and Clarence Thomas are rubbing one out right now, salivating at the idea of getting their hands on this case. But importantly, a lot of times when courts at the trial court level issue an order like this, they will stay that ruling pending appeal, meaning this is the order that we've made, but it won't go into effect until the appellate process is exhausted. This goes into effect right now, immediately. Donald Trump's tariffs are dead in the water. They are gone. And the stock market responded very, very favorably to that. But that's where we're at. Donald Trump's tariffs are dead. They're gone. Awesome.
The tariffs, hastily imposed by the president during one of his aggressive moves earlier this year, were targeted at a wide swath of foreign imports, including consumer goods, industrial parts, and even essential materials from allies like Canada, China, and many others. The president had justified the move by claiming it was time to punish liberal economies that take advantage of the US. But the logic fell apart almost instantly. Economists slammed the decision. Trade experts were baffled. The stock market took a hit. And now, the courts have stepped in to say what so many already knew. This move was flat out illegal. According to the federal judges, the president lacked the authority to enact such sweeping tariffs without congressional approval. He tried to sidestep process, bypass checks and balances, and do what he always does, act like a one-man government. But this time, the system pushed back hard. The ruling emphasized that no president, no matter how loud or polarizing, can single-handedly dismantle decades of trade policy and international cooperation just because he wants to score political points with a base that's more interested in slogans than substance. And let's be honest, the timing couldn't have been worse. These tariffs came at a moment when America's standing in the world was already fragile. So when Trump slapped on these reckless tariffs, essentially punishing friendly nations just to make a political statement, it wasn't just bad policy. It was a final insult. So now, Americans are reacting, and for many, especially Democrats, this feels like a rare win, a moment of validation in a sea of chaos. Social media lit up with posts celebrating the court's decision, mocking the orange man's failed power grab, and highlighting just how costly his impassive leadership style has become. But it's not just about him being embarrassed, it's about the damage done. One comment that keeps popping up again and again from international observers is this: this is great news, but it will take years to repair trade relationships with other countries. And that's the hard truth many Americans don't want to face. The tariffs may be gone, but the stain they left behind is not. Major trading partners aren't just going to forgive and forget. Some nations have already moved on, seeking deals with other powers like the EU and China. Others are rethinking whether they can rely on the US at all. As one Canadian outrightly stated, the tariffs may be gone, but the US reputation on the world stage is damaged, maybe forever. I will continue to boycott American goods and will not be traveling to your country at all. That sentiment is echoed across the globe, where leaders and citizens alike are tired of being jerked around by unstable US policy shifts driven by personality and not principle.
To normalcy. Cheers to going back to having full ports in California. Cheers to imports coming in the country. And to the MAGA clowns, I just want to remind you bitches that in the end, you also suffer. Okay? So this whole thing y'all are thinking, oh, it's gonna affect the black people. It's for the blacks. Yeah, bitch. We were all on that boat this time round. So I hope y'all have learned a thing or two about hate, about voting for your interests, making sure that you vote for somebody who at least is fighting for 5 items on your bucket list for a president. I don't think Trump and his the people he has surrounded himself, these clowns who have to Google their role, you know, the likes of Hegseth, the likes of there's this what is her name, Mary somebody, the one who didn't know the definition of Hoppus corpus. I said that bad. But you get the drill, right? Like the people he's surrounding himself with, I don't think anybody understood or knew that there was an arm of government that forces international trade, like a court that forces international trade, that could come and say, this is constitutionally insane, because that's what they've called it. Y'all, regardless of how things are, I want you to remember, as a Democrat, as somebody who doesn't wear the heart, I want you to remember that the system still works. And we need to make noise about it, that it still works. We need to talk about it, because so many people are thinking that, everything is gone to the drain and the towel has been thrown up. We are just like, the system still works.
And let's not ignore the economic fallout. American farmers, manufacturers, and retailers have already suffered under these tariffs. Many were forced to pay more for imported goods, lost contracts overseas, or had to lay off workers due to rising costs and falling demand. Some small businesses simply couldn't survive the pressure. So while MAGA supporters may still chant about America first, the reality is that these tariffs put American livelihoods last. What's worse is that this was also avoidable. Economists and policy advisors warned him that these tariffs would backfire, not just economically, but legally. But he ignored them, convinced that he alone knew best. And now, instead of standing tall on a policy win, he's nursing a legal defeat that's making headlines around the world. His brand of reckless leadership, acting fast, thinking later, has been exposed once again. Some MAGA loyalists are trying to spin the ruling as a deep state attack or judicial overreach, but that argument is falling flat. Even conservative legal scholars have acknowledged the decision was solid, grounded in constitutional law, and well overdue. It turns out that when a president tries to weaponize tariffs for political spectacle, the courts still have a role to play, and this time, they played it brilliantly. What's especially frustrating for many is that this whole drama distracts from the real work that needs to be done. America's supply chains are still recovering. Inflation is still a concern. Global conflicts are affecting markets. This was not the time to poke allies in the eye and spark trade wars. It was the time for smart, measured diplomacy, something the president has never been known for. And let's be honest, this isn't the first time he's embarrassed the country on the world stage. Whether it was pulling out of climate agreements, causing up to dictators, or insulting NATO allies, he has spent years unraveling America's global credibility. The Liberation Day tariffs were just the latest, and maybe the most symbolic example of how one man's ego can do decades of damage.
Wow, so Donald Trump's been blocked by the US Trade Court in regards to his Liberation Day global tariffs. So remember those tariffs that he gave on every country? They're being blocked. So it says here that a US federal court has ruled that Donald Trump overstepped his authority by imposing global tariffs in a major blow to a key part of his economic policies. So, wow, he just got screwed over by his own court.
Now, Americans are left to pick up the pieces. And for many outside the US, trust is gone. That's the real consequence here. Not just tariffs being struck down, but long-term relationships fraying beyond repair. That's no way to run a country, and it's certainly no way to lead the world. So yes, this ruling is a win, but it's a bittersweet one. The legal system stepped up, but the damage is done. This is a lesson in what happens when power is unchecked and policy is driven by personal vendettas instead of national interest. It's a reminder that elections matter, that leadership matters, and that consequences, real lasting consequences, come with reckless governance. And let's not forget, some of these countries have already taken their business elsewhere. Some consumers overseas, like the one who said they'll continue boycotting American goods and never visit again, represent a growing trend. It's not just political backlash, it's financial, it's cultural, it's personal. People don't trust the United States anymore, not like they used to. And that kind of damage isn't fixed with a court ruling. It takes decades and maybe even generations to rebuild that trust. So as Americans celebrate this legal victory, they also need to sit with the deeper truth. The world is watching. The world is moving on. And the world has every right to question whether America can ever be the stable, reliable partner it once was.
Vote for them. It will be a vote to decide whether or not Congress will raise your prices. And I say give them hell every single day. Let them know. They've got to fear losing their seat more than they fear Donald Trump. So call your congressman, let them know to say no to Trump's tariffs.
So what do you all think? Can America rebuild its international reputation after this embarrassment? Or is the damage done for good? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. I would love to keep this discussion going. Otherwise, that's it from me. I also have another video about grocery prices hitting an all-time high. And if you enjoy such kind of videos, please click up here and enjoy. Also, consider subscribing, liking and sharing because it helps me grow my channel. But for now, thank you so much for watching. And until the next time, the Joy Report out.